In the world of 3PLs, speed matters. But what does that really mean, and why is it so important? Today, we're going to answer those questions and address what technology and software solutions are available to help you improve your speed and efficiency in this special event, 3PLs, Increase Speed, Increase Revenue. Hello, and welcome to today's event. My name is Brian Strait. I'm Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Management Review, which is part of Peerless Media's Supply Chain Group and also includes Logistics Management Magazine. And I'll be your host for today's session, which is being brought to you by our sponsors, Softion and Spinnaker SCA. We are glad you've chosen to join us for this discussion. Before I introduce our guest for today, let me take a moment to go through a few housekeeping items. First, all attendees are muted for the duration of this presentation. Also, you may submit questions at any time during the event by using the Q&A text box on your screen. Now, let me turn the presentation over to Patrick for the introductions.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, specifically focused on 3PLs and helping you to hopefully think through your challenges with a different lens. Think of this format as a little bit more podcast than webinar. The reality is most of you will be listening as you drive, work, or on the treadmill. So we created it so it doesn't have a heavy reliance on visuals. We certainly hope you enjoy the format. Today's theme for 3PLs is speed. In the 3PL space, speed is a competitive weapon, and we want to spark some deeper thoughts and ideas on the topic today. As a personal fan of webinars and podcasts, I love listening to these and coming away with some new ideas and perspectives to help you improve your operation. And that's our goal for today. And speaking of speed, Tyreek Hill appears to have a superpower. And I say this as a diehard Eagles fan. And that guy, he can stretch defenses, and he makes Miami's offense so much better than if they just had a mere mortal playing wide receiver. So speed can clearly be a game changer. So let's do some introductions first. My name is Patrick Malley. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Softion. I've been in the supply chain space since 1999, worked for companies like Manhattan and Blue Yonder, which is formerly Red Prairie, in my history. As you can also see, I am also a teenage daughter survivor 4 times. My oldest just gave me a t-shirt that has teenage daughter survivor, so quite proud of that. But technically, my youngest daughter's still 19, so she's still a teen, so I haven't actually survived all of their teen years yet, but I'm getting close. Softion has been in the WMS industry for 25 years. It's the only Tier 1 WMS vendor purely focused on solving warehouse and distribution operations challenges. All 550 of our employees wake up every day thinking about WMS and the warehouse. One of our core markets, of course, is the 3PL industry. From the beginning, our WMS was designed for 3PLs. We serve mid-sized 3PLs as well as some of the largest and most complex multinational 3PLs in the world, all on the same scalable solution. Which is unique, as there are a number of WMS vendors that require multiple solutions for both the small, medium, and the Tier 1 space. But enough about me. Let me turn it over to my partner today, Joel Garcia from Spinnaker SCA, and let him introduce himself. Joel?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm very glad to be here and part of this conversation. So I'm Joel Garcia with Spinnaker SCA. I've been in the supply chain industry, in the consulting industry for about 25 years. Also, I think, joined the space in 1999 as Patrick did. My focus or my pedigree has been WMS implementations, selections, and really understanding and selecting systems inside the 4 walls to improve distribution operations. I'm part of Spinnaker SCA, who is now a Publicis Sapient company. Our organization focuses on total commerce, from order capture and the digital experience that's happening on websites all the way through to the experience that a customer has when they deliver that package to that customer, both in retail, e-commerce, obviously, but also in B2B commerce, where we play very strongly. What we want to do is help our customers make a promise, and not only make a promise, but make a profitable promise. I think we've spent a lot of time in the last decade trying to not lose a sale, but we have forgotten somewhat what it means to make a profitable promise for your organization. So we focus on ensuring that we have a smooth order capture process in the digital world, the B2B world, but also in planning systems so that you have the best chance of managing inventory and fulfilling that promise. And then my focus in the organization is the supply chain execution side, which is part of what we're talking about here today. And that is so that you can execute on that promise, and that customer experience goes end to end. So thank you.
Great. Joel, I snuck in there that you have a 5.2 in the 40-yard dash. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not.
That is so far from the truth. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Since today's is speed. So, I mean, 5.2 would be fast for someone in their 50s. So
maybe there's a burger at the end of that 40-yard dash, but I'm not sure.
That's right. Motivation. I like it. Motivation. That's great. So moving on. So as I mentioned earlier, the theme for today's webinar is speed. And if you're a fan of Marvel or X-Men or anything in that genre, you know speed can be a superpower. And the same goes for competing in the 3PL space, which, as most of you know, is a very competitive industry. You know, rising transportation costs, squeezing margins, you know, fuel costs and higher shipping costs, driver shortages, more advanced integration requirements to robotics and IoT, AI and machine learning require new skill sets, which is, again, higher costs. Labor shortages still exists, although I think that may be easing. I've been saying that for a number of quarters. I figure someday that labor shortage will ease a bit, but that's still an issue. Legislative requirements, especially in like the pharma and food and beverage, but every vertical really faces some level of challenge. Supply chain disruptions, you know, wildfires, extreme weather. I saw the Houthis are now using drones to disrupt global shipping. I mean, clearly one of those things you can't plan for, you know, like a container ship blocking the Suez Canal. All that makes being a 3PL tough. And last but not least, and this one is like evergreen, Joel, right, is customer expectations. They never get easier. They only get tougher every year. So to compete in this industry, you simply cannot let these challenges slow you down. Speed can't stop supply chain disruptions, but being more nimble and quicker to react can certainly give you an advantage. And when we say speed is a theme today, what do we mean? We don't mean hiring a guy, you know, like the Flash to run through your warehouse. That might help productivity. But today we're going to discuss the following: designing for speed, which is the foundation for a nimble and responsive 3PL. Thoughtful and strategic design from the beginning is critical. Opening new facilities faster, leveraging that massive investment quicker. Onboarding new customers faster. Probably the one item on this list that helps profitability and competitive advantage the most. Integrating to customers and technology faster, adapting to new workflow and requirements faster, to access and leverage your data for better and faster decisions. And arguably the most important here, I mean, we're not here for debate, but you guys can decide this for yourself, but as you move fast, the ability to capture your activity and properly bill for it. As Confucius once said, there is no revenue without billing. So that's what we're going to cover today. And what's cool about this list that I like is that they're all connected and rely on each other to one degree or another, right? They all work together. So with that, let's get going. Let's talk about thoughtful design. Joel, give us your thoughts here.
Yeah, I think you know, as we look at speed in the warehouse, and you know, we're doing this in some degree with a focus of onboarding new customers, possibly implementing a system along that, and all onboarding requires implementation of some systems, WMS. This may be a greenfield site, or it may be a site where you're retrofitting some areas to accept a new customer. These are all opportunities to review your design, understand your customer profile, understand what they expect of you, and really think forward. Some 3PLs have the advantage that they're focused on certain verticals. Understanding the order profiles of those verticals is super important, so that you can leverage that design over and over and allow you to onboard new customers that come from that same vertical as quickly as possible. But really, when you look at the design and the capabilities of your systems, I think you have an opportunity to look at that order profile and leverage the features of the WMS that will come on board, such as such as new picking methodologies, put away strategies, replenishment strategies, inventory management strategies. And I believe that for you to maintain speed, we want to understand the target audience, obviously. And I keep saying the word order profile because it's incredibly important to understand what that means and the demands that that's going to place on the distribution center in terms of labor. You're going to have a great system or a system that helps you leverage that. But if you don't understand what you're going for and who your audience is, I think you're going to get somewhere fast, but you're not going to be very effective. And then lastly, one of the disconnects that we see in many organizations or 3PL organizations is that during the sales process, we don't have a good connection, a good sales process that starts off by considering the warehouse design and the warehouse capabilities when they sell that account. And when they do sell that account, really getting a good understanding, again, of the requirements that the customer has around their profiles and their inventory management transportation requirements. When those, as Patrick said earlier, those are all interconnected. If we don't have that good understanding there, then it's going to be fairly hard and slower to onboard that customer, leverage what you've already built in terms of facility design, and leverage what you've already built in terms of configuration in that system. And so it's important that the sales organization, all the way through operation, the onboarding organization, and IT around integrations understands end-to-end what that process is and what the capabilities are in terms of technology and the operational performance of the facilities that you have.
It's great. It's great. I mean, we're going to come back to that a number of times throughout the presentation, right? It really is the foundation to speed here. The way you design your facilities, your entire network. But thoughtful design really is the perfect segue to opening new facilities. Proper design is one thing that'll make your new facility super streamlined. But what else can you do to open new facilities faster? And this is, from a technology perspective. I know there's plenty to do with, site selection, prefab and modular construction, that kind of things, which is all clearly important. But today we're focusing on tech side. We have existing 3PL customers that open new facilities constantly. We also deal with prospective 3PL customers that want to open a new facility and use a new WMS or WES or WCS at the same time. And they all have one thing in common. They want to do it fast for obvious reasons. Faster time to revenue and profitability. Opening new facilities and making them profitable quickly is hard work. The one takeaway here is do not let technology be the culprit for a delayed opening. It happens all the time. People underestimate the work to get a WMS, WES properly deployed. We've had many prospects come to us and tell us it takes them 12 to 18, 24 months to get their WMS software up and running at a new facility. And competitively speaking, that is a major problem. So here we're going to focus on two areas, some technology features that help and the technology partners you choose. So first things first, it's just, we got to get this one out of the way, but your platform needs to be multi-tenant. It's foundational for a 3PL, and surprisingly, many WMS solutions are not multi-tenant, which creates a problem at the outset. So that's an easy one to check, multi-tenancy. And we already established the importance of having a strong and thoughtful facility and network design. So with that in place, there are two key components I want to highlight. First is the ability to essentially copy and paste from one facility to another. The ability to copy and paste one facility's operational model and pick and choose which fields, workflows, configurations you want to paste into your new facility will absolutely accelerate the technology portion of opening your new facility. And from a technology partner perspective, the other area that creates delays is change requests and the associated costs. There are many solution providers that have built enormously profitable businesses with professional services, which is fine. But if you don't necessarily understand all of your requirements, you forgot some of the finer details, or if there was simply a miscommunication in the sales cycle, you're going to pay in both money and time. I've been in WMS for 25 years. I've seen projects that have doubled and tripled from the original cost and timeline. this, I mean, we're not making this a commercial for Softeon, but we are one of the few WMS vendors that we take a shared risk approach and we create a fixed fee implementation where both parties are motivated to complete the project on time and on budget. So my recommendation here is to insist on a fixed fee project with your vendor of choice to ensure you both share in the risk of the project. You'll not only be surprised how much faster it goes, you'll also avoid, blowing out your budget. And I thought I'd give you just a little look at like some screenshots that may help you think through what copy paste functionality looks like. I mean, you can see here, that there's the ability to copy from and copy to at the warehouse, building ID, and business unit level here. And just clicking through here, the next one, you see some drill down where you identify the warehouse data that you want to bring over. And then you dig down into the actual workflow that will be used, all to help you accelerate with an easy playbook for both new facilities and onboarding new customers, which this is what Joel's going to discuss next. And I think he can do that in his sleep. So onboarding new customers, Joel.
Yeah. When you look at onboarding new customers, there are a lot of challenges. and I believe that this is where a lot of organizations fail. And I also believe that this is where the start of a bad relationship with a customer and a 3PL it really starts. And I'm going to talk about some of the challenges first, in terms of what they are and why you would take a certain approach. And we talked already about the having a good sales process. I think if you don't have a good sales process where your sales team does not understand the capabilities or creates too many differentiators for the organization, it's very difficult to onboard customers quickly, and it's very difficult to have a profitable operation. That sales process has to obviously convert into a contract. So being able to capture what we sold in a contract that will then be deployed in the facility is also very important. So sales process, contracts, having a solid onboarding plan is crucial. Poor data quality is also a challenge. We don't have control of the data quality that our customers have, which gets in the way of having a best-in-class timing, in achieving a 20-day on average to onboard new clients into an existing building, into a greenfield building. And then the last piece, really, not the last piece, but the other challenge that there's integration. Integrating a customer with poor data quality, as an example, is going to be very challenging. And talking to multiple systems, again, selecting the partner that has the capability to integrate to systems like Shopify or Magento or an ERP where those orders are coming from, or any inventory system, along with material handling is key as you select a customer and key to getting to a quick deployment. Going back to what Patrick said about copy and paste, 3PL, I think, has to have the ability to templatize their implementations in order to get speed. If as you start to design a WMS or an operation, we all have gone through those design processes where we sit and debate the best picking methods, the best put away strategies, best replenishment strategies. And those are all contingent on certain order profiles, certain storage mediums, certain pick methods. What we recommend is that you pick those and you say, when I see this order profile around this storage method in this situation, I'm going to pick a piece of functionality. I'm going to go test it and deploy it, understand how to configure it, understand how to use it, understand how to train around it, and really have those workflows ready and set up as a toolbox that you can pull from when you have a new customer come on board. By reducing that timeline around testing and design, you can really achieve a faster implementation and a faster onboarding when you get there, right? So going back to it, that ties back to Sales, it ties back to design, having understanding your design, understanding the order profiles, when you're going to use what, and then templatizing your implementation, creating a toolbox of functionality that you're pulling from that WMS.
Excellent. I mean, that is the perfect segue into integrating fast. Just getting a little deeper into this here. When we think about integration, it's just another bugbear hiding in the midst when you're trying to move fast. And this one is getting more challenging. As I said earlier about MHE and robotics landscape is really evolving and showing no signs of changing anytime soon. But in this area, I want to challenge the audience to think differently about integration. This is a topic where we could spend an hour, right? In fact, our CTO will often do a presentation, a longer presentation. So I won't be able to do it full justice with the timeline we have here, but I'll give you the concept. If you're interested to learn more, I can connect you with Mark, our CTO. He recently did this at Gartner's conference last month, and he's the only guy I know that can make integration somewhat fun and exciting. But the main takeaway point is this. We need to stop thinking about integrations in a point-to-point linear fashion, literally like a tin can and string. Instead, we need to think about them in terms of broadcasters and subscribers. If you're like me when you first heard this, and I realize I may be a slow processor and maybe didn't understand right away, but let me explain how I think about it. The problem with point-to-point integration is right in the name. It's one point to another point. If another point, and when I say point, a point could be another system, a person, an interface, an AI device, or a robot, for example. When they or it wants the same data, it's another point-to-point integration. So you think of a phone call between two people, it's point-to-point. No one else can listen in many cases for good privacy reasons, but that's no way to build a collaborative ecosystem in today's supply chain. It's slow, old school, and wildly inefficient. We see data, we share data like a broadcast, a secure broadcast where anyone who wants or needs that data can quickly access it. I'll share more on that in a second. Now, the second takeaway here is to be agnostic and speak all languages. Leverage an integration platform that can take any data format, enrich it, transform it, deal with the taxonomy, and communicate it to the right place. When you're trying to commission a go live, I think Joel mentioned this about testing, you want all your vendors speaking the language they are most comfortable with, the one they QA with, the one they test on a daily basis. So being agnostic when it comes to integration will make everything go faster. And all this is to highlight that we know everybody wants to get better connected to their partners up and down the supply chain. They want to be able to leverage the new robotics and technologies available. Everybody wants it, but we need tools that allow us to do it quickly in a test pilot mode so you can see what works for you. Today, these old approaches to integration are blocking potential progress. And these delays are not just slowing you down, that's bad enough, but they're preventing you from achieving ROI and meaningful investment into your operation. So I want to go into just two slides here, some visuals here, and if you can't see this, I'll just try to describe it, but it's a visual we use at Softeon to communicate the concept of streaming data, broadcast, and subscribers. A streaming set of data on a racetrack that can be accessed by those who need it when they need it. The ultimate goal is accelerating and piloting the adoption of emerging technology and speeding up the connection between all the players that make up a warehouse operation. And then here's another visual that we use to illustrate being agnostic and multilingual when it comes to integration. The ability to take any data source, enrich it, transform it, again, deal with that taxonomy, and deliver it to where it needs to go is essential in today's warehouse and currently a clear source of friction when it comes to speed. So this is, again, something that we spend a lot more time with our clients as we click through this. But this will bring us now to, Joel, one of the more trickier aspects of being nimble, which is adapting to new requirements and new workflows.
Yeah, and that's when we go back and start talking about new workflows. Once again, I want to go back to templatize, right? And I think this is different depending on who you are as a 3PL. If you focus on a specific industry and a specific vertical, you're going to have an easier time doing this because those order profiles and those customers tend to behave very similar to each other. But if you have a multi-tenant facility and you have many types of customers, then the challenge of templatizing and adapting to new workflows is much harder, right? So as we work through that, I really believe that you have to work with your customer very tightly to adapt those workflows. And I think a challenge, going back to a challenge I didn't mention previously when you're adapting new workflows, is really the challenge of having a customer I would say too much intervention from a customer. You really have to work on designing a workflow that does not involve a lot of interaction from your customer while you're trying to complete the work. If you haven't worked with your customer to design those flows to account for exceptions, you're going to have a very inefficient operation. So adapting those workflows, new workflows, really has to involve a level of automation, a level of error handling, and a level of exception handling that your organization can handle on their own. And to do that, you really have to have a solid design, a system that can support those workflows, and a solid understanding of the requirements. Okay.
Awesome. All right, last one, data. Who doesn't love data? Let's talk about data. It's everyone's favorite topic. It's another topic that could take an hour alone, right? But leaning on our theme of speed, the connection here is a company needs access to great data to make fast decisions. It's a couple of things Joel said about data quality, super important as you think through this part. A nimble company is able to assess risk and use data to create the most profitable path. A key takeaway here is highlighting the importance of all the aspects we touched on earlier all show up when it comes time to access data. Again, from the way you design your operation, the way you leverage an integration strategy and platform, and a topic we'll hit in a minute like billing, which Joel will tackle in a second, all ties into key metrics like on-time delivery and accuracy and cycle times, utilization, time to profitability, to the internal roles-based approach of who needs what data and when. A data-driven organization understands accountability and is definitely more nimble and knows where to prioritize its time. I'm not just talking about internal only. This is not an internal issue. It's equally important external to your customers. Providing data access and insight to your partners is table stakes today. Providing self-service capabilities to place orders, route orders, what is the best warehouse to source from, track orders, and real-time views into inventory and shipment updates, as well as things like reverse logistics, enables your customers to be more nimble. And empowered and nimble customers are happy customers, which I think, Joel, is a good way to segue into billing, because happier customers pay their bills faster.
Yes. Billing is one of my favorite topics, and I think it's one of my favorites because it's although there are a lot of challenges, it's one of the most straightforward ways to improve your revenue and your profitability. When we look at billing, and I think a very common problem in the 3PL industry is really looking at three buckets. When you look at labor, there is the labor that you pay, right? And that's usually 8 hours a day or whatever your shifts look like. You're going to pay for that labor. Then I also want to track hours worked. How many hours was an employee really effective in their 8 hours a day? And sometimes that boils down to about 6 to 6.5 hours of really effective work whether they're moving from zone to zone or from function to function, department to department. You have to be able to track those movements and where they were and how they were effective in those areas. And you're going to see that you're going to have some loss of time in those movements. And then lastly, the most important piece is hours billed, right? And what we find when we look at 3PLs and we're doing consulting around the specific topic, that there's a very large disparity between hours paid, hours worked, and hours billed. And those hours billed, there's a loss of activities. They have a very difficult time capturing the activities that happen in the facility that you have a right to bill. And those are some of the most straightforward things to fix, but you do need a good system to be able to capture those activities. And when we look at the billing systems that are available, right? We talk about commercial agreements that are built for speed here, bullet point number 2. Again, going back to the way you structure your contracts, how does that contract that you structure translate into your billing system? And that billing system could exist in your WMS, where the WMS could be doing more than just capturing the activities that are happening in the WMS, meaning an activity that's being performed with somebody with a handheld. Or sometimes the systems have the capability to capture activities that are outside of that, such as lumping, VAS, or any other activity where the person performing that activity is not holding a piece of technology, but they have a way of entering those activities into that system to capture it for billing purposes. So the technology has to be flexible, whether it's part of the system you're using to perform those activities and it catches it along the way, or if it has the ability to enter that time or those activities and the costing for that will then roll up to another system that will calculate the actual billing for those customers. So automating as much as possible in those distribution centers to be able to capture as many activities as you can and automating them is incredibly important, because in that loss of automation and those manual processes is where we see the biggest difference between hours worked and hours billed. Okay.
Fantastic. Great way to wrap up our thing here. So I just want to do a quick summary and recommendations, and what better character than Roadrunner to summarize speed. But really, speed is a competitive weapon. Where can you get faster? That was the whole question today. And design. It came up in almost every point. So the foundation of speed is the way you design your network and your facilities. Use copy-paste technology to open new facilities and onboard customers faster than ever. This is technology that not a lot of companies are able to leverage. Stop thinking point-to-point integration. Think broadcasters and subscribers. It's a new way to think, but it is going to make you a lot more nimble. Get composable technology to help you adapt to new workflows and requirements. That is an evergreen issue, right? New requirements, new customers, new things to do. So this is something that you need to have in order to stay nimble. Make data accessible for better and faster decision-making. And last but not least, and arguably the most important, don't forget to bill. Got to bill. So that is our last slide. Joel, just before I know we're going to hand it back over to Brian, but I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been awesome. I hope we can do this again on other topics, but really appreciate you, joining me today.
Thank you, Patrick. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, great. Brian, we'll hand it back over to you. I think we have any questions from the audience.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. And thank you both for sharing your insights on my behalf and us and the audience here. Your insights and expertise, greatly appreciated. I thought it was a fun listen, nice interview, nice overview, great information. And I think anytime you can incorporate movie characters like Lightning McQueen and Roadrunner, I think you've won. So I'm just trying to say that. As you mentioned, we do have a few questions that have come in, so we do want to get to those. As a reminder to our audience, you can still submit a question using the Q&A button on your dashboard, and we'll try to get to it as time permits. All right, well, right to the questions. Patrick, I think this first one's for you. Where can we learn more about your integration platform?
You can go to our website. I think that's probably the first place to go. There's information there. But if you want more detailed information, more technical information, connect you with our CTO, you can email me at that email below, pmail@softion.com, and I can get you connected to Mark Freilich.
Great. Joel, let's get one for you here. How long is a warehouse design project, and who is involved from our side?
Yeah, usually warehouse design projects can be as short as 3 weeks with the availability of strong, solid data in a simple facility, and as long as 12 weeks for larger, more complex facilities that have more automation. Typically, on the customer side, we expect a lot of participation from the operations team that understands how they're going to run the facility, how they'd like to run the facility. But we also need involvement from IT for data, and certainly we need involvement from the finance team as we start to propose solutions. We're very careful in making sure that those solutions have ROI and that we're building out a very strong labor model and future operating model. So really finance, IT for data, and operations.
Good. Hope that answers that question for people. Next question we have, this was referenced in the presentation. I see best in class for onboarding new customers is 28 days. This person wants to know, what is the average for all of your 3PL customers? Patrick, I think this might be your
Yes, that's
territory.
for our customers. It's a great question. So 28 days is fast. We utilize our professional services team utilizes a 5 to 6 week playbook for our 3PL customers to get them up and running. So I'd say average is 5 to 6 weeks.
Okay. That is, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. We got a couple questions, try to squeeze them in there. If you submitted a question and we didn't answer it, you'll receive a follow-up email with a response following the event from Patrick and Joel or one of the members of the team. So I want to thank both Joel and Patrick for joining us today. I also want to thank our sponsors, Softion and Spinnaker SCA, for allowing us to present this content to you. And a special thank you to all of you who took time out of your day to listen. We greatly appreciate that. For Peerless Media Supply Chain Group, I'm Brian Straight. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.